Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Victor, and for today's video is gonna be the second episode of our Kickstarter Gems. Just to give a little bit of a preview of what I'm gonna be talking about in this series is that it has to do basically with going through Kickstarter and being able to look at some really good tarot decks that are catching my attention for this month and the time that I'm doing this recording. If these are some of the videos that you are really vibing with and you really feel like you can be a part of, I will leave the links of all of these Kickstarters on the description so you can go ahead and show support to these individual creators. Just as an additional note, when it comes to Kickstarter, there's always a risk involved in pledging any of these projects, where even if the Kickstarter is fulfilled, there could still be a chance that for one reason or another, you may not still get the item. A big part of the platform is to rely on donating people to kickstart their projects and be able to get something back in return. And I've had an overall really good experience, but I just want to throw a little disclaimer out there just in case that this is not me getting endorsed by Kickstarter or anything of the sort. This is just kind of me going through something that I normally do every single time that I want to find new tarot decks. And I just kind of want to share that experience with you and probably some of the decks that are catching my attention as of now. So without further ado, let's just look to see what Kickstarter has in store for us. So for this first Kickstarter, this is the CharmCast Tarot. One of the things that really caught my attention when it came to this particular Kickstarter is the creative way on how to do tarot in such a simplistic, small, and very creative way. This particular CharmCast Tarot has already reached its goal. So if you were to back this project before it expires, you can get your own hands on one of these. This is from Willisburg, Ohio, so from the United States, and it only has a very few days to go. So if you're watching this video, this is one of those where if you catch this a few days later, you probably will miss it. This particular Kickstarter is by Amelie. She has already created previous Kickstarters and has backed a few of her own, which gives me a really positive outlook that once this is created, this will come to life and that you will receive your very own copy once production has settled. For this particular one, what really came to my attention is what is CharmCast Tarot? Why, Victor, did this catch your attention? And the interesting thing is that they took a very, very small size, charm size print of plastic of black and white images of the different tarot cards and made them so small that you can put this into a bag to be able to just pull out these charms instead of drawing it from the top of the deck. To me, that is extremely creative. You can clearly see how small they are from this picture. And you can also notice how the images translate really well. They're very simplistic. You can catch the numbers of the major arcanas in this particular picture. And it really gives me a very good outlook of how someone can take something that perhaps is a little bit too large or too big, perhaps can get a little bit clunky, and just try to be a very minimalistic approach for it. This picture just kind of talks a little bit about the creation and kind of where she came from in those very beginning levels of production. And then we can kind of see everything just kind of laid out already, as everything has already been done on her end. One of the things that really caught my attention on her profile was that she's trying to be a problem solver, and this is how she came about into learning about this particular deck, which is amazing. Like I had mentioned before, this Kickstarter has already reached all of their goals, and they also have metal versions of these if you want something a little bit sturdy, and perhaps the plastic with the black and white is just not going to be sufficient for you. So being able to have this kind of flexibility is really great, and you can see how the imprints on this look really fantastic. That's kind of what we're looking at here for the Kickstarter. If you were wanting to have a full set of the CharmCast, we will be looking at the $35 pledge in order to get a full set. This is of the plastic version. And the other thing is that if you are really wanting this metal CharmCast instead, this can be as an add-on, and you're able to have this metal set available of the 78 charms. Just keep in mind that it will be $133. However, if you just want very specific sets or very specific metal of these, then the cost will be a lot more cheaper. But just to be fully aware that the main project for this Kickstarter is the CharmCast plastics, and their estimated delivery is for November of 2022. All right, for this next Kickstarter, this is the Book of Shadows and Alchemist story. Now, this one is a little bit different, actually extremely different than what you would normally see in terms of what I will post here for a tarot deck, but that seems to be quite the theme for this particular Kickstarter section that we're looking at. First, for this particular one, it will come with a 78 card tarot deck. This is being created from the London, UK. So if you're in the US, keep in mind this will be overseas, so it might take a little bit longer for US backers to get theirs. This has already come into fruition in terms of the amount of pledges. So if you were to back this project, you should be able to receive your own copy of whatever you decide to pledge. So there is no risk in that regard. This particular project is by Berith and Brimstone. So one of the things that caught my attention is that this is their first Kickstarter they have created, and they have none backed. So this is very, very new. So just be very conscious of that there might be a little bit of a learning curve. There might be, you know, I'm not 100% sure because I've had a bad experience with a creator that had no creatives and no backs. So just wanted to bring that to attention just in case. But the really interesting thing is that this seems to be more from a production type of work line. So that kind of gives me a little bit of an ease. Essentially, the thing that really caught my attention when it came to this particular deck is the artwork, right? That's the first and foremost. And this artwork really gives me vibes of 90s cartoons that you would see probably on like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. It gives me almost like King Solomon vibes when it comes to the artwork itself. That was just my initial first impressions in the way that this was presented. And the really interesting thing is that even if you were to back this particular project, it will come with a tarot deck, the Book of Magic, and a mockumentary film. Now you probably are asking, what do you mean by a Book of Magic and a mockumentary film? Well, this is actually the really interesting part, right? Is that not only are you backing for the physical copy of the 78 card Rider-Waite Smith deck, that they're saying that it will be printed in full color with 400 GSM high quality paper, and it's going to be packed into a tuck box. This is a little bit of an example where this is the back of the deck, which is going to depict the House of Wisdom. So the artwork is already done, and so that's one thing that you're going to be able to see right off from the Kickstarter itself. And then you can really start to learn if this is something that you can personally vibe with. All of the different suits are already here for you to see. All the cups, wands, swords, and pentacles. The interesting thing here is that when it comes into the Book of Magic, is that it's basically a fictional history of the tarot, transporting the reader into a vibrant dimension of light and futuristic marvels where alchemy, magic, and science intertwine. One of the really nice things that they have done here is that they have tried to create a story behind the different cards and the different characters that are being presented within this tarot deck. And that's where this particular company has gone a little bit above and beyond in being able to bring a little bit of that magic and make it come to life for us. As we can see here, the Book of Magic, you can see here a little bit of a preview. It's almost like in a comic book art style. It's a digital mock-up, as you can see here. Just to kind of depicting the story of how the characters are going to move through, and a little bit of the shenanigans that we can see here, even with just a little bit of storytelling that we can get from this little preview. We can see various pages that will discuss about the individual cards, and it will also go into the individual comics like strips to be able to bring a lot of this into life. For this mockumentary film, the really interesting thing is that this is going to be what they call a remaster vision with enhanced colors of high fidelity soundtrack of the Book of Shadows. A historical thriller I have created as an artistic answer to the question, who invented the tarot? And imagine a visionary parallel world revolving around the mysterious manuscripts, a deck of tarot cards, obscure works of a fictional alchemist. An adventure in a land of dangers, mysteries, and untold truths where alchemy, magic, and science are intertwined in secret ciphers and cunning plots, all on the background of ancient struggles between occult powers. So being able to see how the book itself is going to be brought to life in an actual piece of film, and it also gives you a little bit of the trailer within the Kickstarter itself, really is going to give you a good impression of what this is going to bring to the table. I feel like with this particular Kickstarter, not only are you just going to get a tarot deck, but you're going to get the creative magic of a storytelling through the visuals of the magic book that will also contain the individual descriptions of the cards and their meanings, but also a little of mockumentary. And with the mockumentary, that will also make this come to life. One of the things that we can see here is that even with the book and the deck, you'll be able to see a little bit of the shipping rates in between the UK, the EU, the US, and for the rest of the world. If you want to get your hands on this as a minimal pledge for this, which will include the tarot deck, the Book of Magic, and as well as the mockumentary, which will be basically what you need to pledge in order to get this deck, is gonna be about 40 euros, or I should say 40 pounds, which in this case will be about 48 US dollars. All right, for this next Kickstarter, we have the Tarot Gals. Now, this one particularly caught my attention. Something very specific about the artwork that really resonates with you. Can you try to guess to see what this animation resembles of based on just this particular preview? If so, I'll give you the answer in a little bit. But essentially, this Kickstarter particularly is coming from Las Vegas, Nevada. And for the initial goal of $300, this has gone above and beyond in being able to meet its pledge, or at least its Kickstarter goal. So if you were to make a pledge on this particular deck, you should be able to get your hands on it. For this particular deck, this is created by Christopher Lee. They have already created many other Kickstarters, and as well as they have backed quite a few of them themselves. So being able to see this from their perspective, it looks like it's going to be a very sound Kickstarter as they just keep coming back and creating more projects of their own. One of the things that really caught my attention here is Chris's background, and probably why some of the artwork itself really resonates. A big part of it is because they're a concept artist working in a theme park industry. Now, based on their profile itself, it says that they're a former Disney engineer and video game artist. So to me, this already gives a lot of that background, and within the pictures themselves, I can kind of see a lot of that resemblance too. Within just right in the beginning of the actual tarot deck, we can see that the back where you can read either upright or reversed, where it has that very symmetrical part to it. And one of the really things that really stood out to me again comes back to the artwork itself. One of the things that really needs to be noted right off the bat is that each one of these cards is always going to have some sort of female character into it. Which is a big part of why it says Tarot Gal in it. So if it's very much female empowerment and kind of seeing all of these different cards, especially cards that are denoted as a very male figure, you can imagine cards like the Emperor, like the Magician. You can see that they have very much different counterparts when it does come into that female portrayal of it. Including within the Lovers cards as well. Being able to see the imagination just kind of come to life. This, for some reason, also gives me a lot of that Sailor Moon vibes, which I love very much. It's something that I grew up with as well. It really gives a really good perspective and a different way on how you can look at these cards too. The backgrounds of it really call out, and it really blends in well with the characters themselves, which is something to denote very, very vividly. And as well as the artwork itself, it really stays close to the Rider-Waite deck too. So a lot of the meanings that you can see within the cards themselves will still have a lot of the reflection of the original. So new beginners trying to get into this deck, this can be a very good deck to get them started as well. The images are very vivid. The colors put a really nice contrast. The images are really vibrant. Each character does feel unique in terms of their hair color, their posture, what they're holding, the emotions that they're conveying, the garments that they're wearing. Everything just gives a little bit of a different feel to it, especially even within the color scheme of the card as an overall. It makes them feel like they're very unique in their own particular way. One of the Kickstarters that it also highlights is the drawing process of some of these cards, if that is something that you're very interested in. And for this particular Kickstarter, if you're looking to just get one of these and pledge one of them for your own, the minimum requirement will be $40 US, as that will get you the tarot deck. And for the estimated shipping date is going to be September, so 2 months away. Sounds like a really good deal. Now, this particular Kickstarter, very unique, very high concept, and it comes with very multi layers. Like I did mention earlier, this Kickstarter episode is gonna be based on a lot more than you anticipate when it comes into pledging for some of these Kickstarters. Now, this one is Exit Veil, the Occult and Tarot JRPG. Whoa, what do you mean, Tarot JRPG? What is going on? First things first, the Kickstarter has already met its pledge goal, and it keeps rising even as I am recording this video. People are really falling in love with this, and I will explain to you why and why this even caught my attention. This is coming from Tokyo, Japan, and is classified under video games. Huh? Wait, I thought we were reviewing tarot decks. What do you mean a video game? Well, this is the part where it gets really tricky. As it says here in the title, it's a dark psychedelic JRPG and fully integrated tarot deck. This is coming from the Cherimochi Game Studios, and this is their second project that they are coming to create. One of the things that really caught my attention when it came to this is the inspiration that came from this particular project that they're trying to bring to life, and it has multiple layers. One of these layers, for just you and me, it comes with a tarot deck. The tarot deck seems to be very well thought out, especially with some of the images, as you can see here, from 3 of the 78 cards, Strength, the Tower, and Hierophant. It does come with a little bit of a dark theme, but in addition, you can see that there is a lot of thoughtful artwork that went into this, being able to depict each picture in its own rendered way and giving that interpretation where you still have a lot of the same traditional approaches into the Rider-Waite deck, and a lot of the symbolisms, but it comes in with a very different take and a very different theme. One of the things that also comes into attention here is being able to integrate this particular project with a video game. Now, you may be asking, well, how is this even possible? Well, this is where it comes really interesting, because I took a look into some of the videos that are presented here and even some of the GIFs. The idea here is that you are this particular character, and as you traverse through this JRPG world, that you are using tarot for battling, for enhancing your abilities and your stats and all that stuff. Now, if you're more interested into that video game aspect of it, then you're more than welcome to. I am pretty sure that they're putting a lot of thought and work into it. These are some of the samples of the different music that they're planning to incorporate within the game itself. But let's come into the meat and potatoes of why you probably came to the video, which is the actual tarot deck. Now, even though you will be investing into the deck, the physical deck itself, the part that also comes attached with this Kickstarter is that you get to also experience this in a video game form with this particular character, as I explained before. Just keep in mind that that is something as more of a, you get 2 for the price of 1. When you invest into this particular project, you will be able to get the particular deck along with the video game and help in its development. Even though the development of the video game itself will take a lot longer to complete. Just to make sure that we're clear and on the same page, the Exit Veil Tarot is going to be a full 78 card deck based on the Rider-Waite format with very unique designs by occult and esoteric symbols, with every card richly layered with meaning. You can see a little bit of the box here, and it comes that is very well detailed with that gold wording, as well as it goes in with the theme of what the Exit Veil is going to be as part of the video game. This will come in a premium high gloss rigid box. You can see here as some examples of suits of the sword, as well as the pentacles, and you can see what the backs of the cards are going to contain. Again, this deck has already been in the hands of somebody else, not me, but they've been able to do a little bit of a review that you can go ahead and check out by going into the Kickstarter itself. Based on the rewards that we are talking about here, for the minimum that we are looking at. So here's the interesting thing. If you are looking to just get the tarot cards, what this means is you will get the Exit Veil Tarot, and as well as to access to the private monthly newsletter for every last Saturday of the month. Then we're looking at about $49 US, which is about 6,750 yen. You will be expecting to receive this deck around October of this year, so around for the Halloween time, perhaps. But even if it's past it, this can also make a really great Christmas present, as you should probably have it between November and December time, according to this timeline. If this is something that you are very much interested in investing in both the physical deck as well as the video game itself, so you're getting the 2 things. We're talking about an average of about $69 pledge, which is about 9,500 yen. And what they promise us with this is that there will be a single download copy of Exit Veil JRPG for PC. Console is pending, depending on how much they'll be able to garner from this Kickstarter in order to make a console version of it. You will also be able to get the Exit Veil Tarot, which is the physical deck itself, to the private Discord, the beta builds, the digital copy of the game art book, the soundtrack, the tarot art book, and a lot of more things. So if this is more of where you're a gamer and this really speaks out to you and you're like, tarot, yes, gaming, yes, put both things together in a very dark, esoteric theme, then sign me up. Then this might just be the one that's gonna be right up your alley. Now, for this last tarot deck that I'm going to talk about, this is the Masquerade Tarot. The Masquerade Tarot is a 78 card tarot deck. What really caught my attention is obviously the artwork, but in specific, this artwork gives me a lot of Dragon Age vibes, Vampire the Masquerade vibes, and just kind of mixing both things together within the art and the theme behind it. For some reason, masquerade balls and kind of having a little bit of that theme around sounds very interesting, perhaps a little bit of fun, and just kind of seeing how something like this can come to life in a tarot theme really piqued my interest. For this one that we have right here, the initial goal was of $5,000, but as it stands right now, this project is currently funded and is sitting at about $54,000. So if you were to pledge this, chances are you're gonna have nothing to worry about, as a Kickstarter is most likely to go through. This is coming from Madrid, Spain. So if you're in the United States, just be very mindful that can take a little bit longer for it to ship out to you. This is by Fathom, which they have done previous Kickstarters before, and they have backed multiple ones. Now, one of the things that I started to dive a little bit more into this, let's just talk about the deck first. The box itself, it's okay. It just feels like a normal deck box that you would buy at any metaphysical shop. So nothing really outstanding there. However, when we look at the actual cards themselves, one of the things that this particular company is pricing themselves on is that when you get this particular tarot deck, you're going to be able to also create stories around them for role-playing games, novels, and scripts. So what does that mean? It means that this particular deck is going to come in with a book that is going to allow you to be able to create stories around the different cards within this deck itself, where you're going to be able to have a lot more depth to them, be able to create romances, secrets, and other details in order on how these different characters will interact with each other. Again, going with the theme of what this Kickstarter Gems series is going to be all about for this particular episode is that you're going to be getting more than just the simple tarot deck. There seems to be something else you're going to be getting along with the deck itself. So for example, in here, it will come in with a particular guidebook in order to guide you in creating stories. It can go through different cards, and depending on how you draw them, whether upright or reverse, you can be able to start creating your own narrative, your own story behind the different characters that this particular deck comes with based on this major arcana that we have here. Based on how they're placed and based on what is happening, this Kickstarter gives us a little bit of a glimpse of where this is taking place, what has happened before, what is currently happening, what things need to transpire, what kind of secrets are brewing underneath, what awkwardness, attitudes, and things of that nature, all based on whichever cards you end up drawing yourself. This particular deck is going to be the full 78 cards. As we can see, as these three examples, we have the Judgment, the Star, and the King of Wands. So you are able to see and get right away what these cards are trying to speak to you. To me, just kind of seeing the borders around each of the cards, where it almost gives it more like a gazebo, looking into it, almost like in a very perfectly told story with that beautiful frame, and then being able to see the artwork itself of the different characters, being able to see the interactions with them, their feelings, everything seems to be portraying just as expected. We also see within this Kickstarter all the individual cards based on the major arcanas that we have here, the Suit of Cups and the colors around that, the Suit of Pentacles, the characters that are involved in each one of these, the Suit of Swords, the feelings that they're coming across for each one of them so vividly captured, and with the Wands, seeing the passion and the drawing style coming to this scene, as you can see how perfectly rendered all these images have come into light and how this was all carefully put together. Depending on your particular Kickstarter, you can also be getting an altar cloth to go along with this, and as well as a metal pin and a textile bag to go with all of this. In addition, with the Fatum, it also comes with Easter Winds expansion, but you can order this with the Masquerade Tarot, so you can combine, but you only use this in terms if you're interested in being able to build those stories, build those bonds, and being able to create these stories around the characters, the major arcana, and seeing how they're going to come to life through your own telling of the story. If you're looking to get a particular deck of your own in order to get your hands on this particular deck and just kind of get going for the most part, then we're going to be looking at the Columbina pledge, which is about 30 euros, which comes out to about 31 US dollars. Now, keep in mind that for this particular deck, if you are looking to get this very, very anxiously, you might have to do a little bit of waiting, as the physical deck is expected to be released on March of 2023. Now, this is just for the basic deck. If you're really looking to get the altar cloth, a prettier box, the guidebook itself, and go a little bit deeper into it, and you're looking at the Bauta pledge that we have here, which will come with the tarot guide, the tarot deck, the two prints in A6, and the altar cloth. And if you're looking for that specific pin that you really want, then you can look at the different pledges, such as the Naga. And if you really want to have your own specific commission art done within the story here as a card itself, then you're looking at another pledge as well. Last extra bonus deck, we're going to dive into the Oracle side. This is the Slavic Oracle second printing. And for this particular deck, this is coming from Jersey City, New Jersey. So home of Miss Marvel at the moment, if you've been watching that on Disney. This particular project had an initial goal of $500, but now it's at $3,400. So people are really resonating with this, and I can see why. For this particular one, this is coming from Magic and Mediums. They have created some and they have backed plenty more. So I feel very secure and sure that you will be able to get your hands on this if you start your pledge. Whenever you get a chance, especially if you catch this right when the video is released. Now, for this particular deck, this is a little bit interesting for me because this particular art style is not something that I personally resonate with, but I can see why it has its charm and why people are really drawn into this. The image of this is very clear, is very up in your face. It gives very concise wording. The art style is very unique. It's not something that you see anywhere else either. And the back is very beautiful as well. When you say Slavic and I look at this background, it's something that I can really put the two together very, very easily. Now, one of the things that this Kickstarter does is that it talks a little bit about Slavic mythology and being able to kind of see that in a little bit of the different cards that have been putting here, such as the Novomi, the Leshi, the Rasulka, the Baba Yaga, and so much more that you can see are definitely going to be reflected within this particular Oracle deck. Within just the illustration of going down the list, you can see how some of these pictures, they have done a very beautiful job in being able to turn them into gifts, being able to really tell you as the person who is going to be looking at these cards, the story a little bit behind it. Now, if this is something that doesn't really resonate with you and you don't really understand a lot of these backgrounds and anything like that, this will also come with a guidebook that will be fully illustrated. So it makes it a lot easier for you to read and make the deck perfect for the cards, for the card reader of all kinds. So because of this, it will come in alphabetical order and it will suggest card layouts as well. It will have the card artwork. It will tell you how to use the cards. It will use any keywords, meanings, and a lot more, as you can see within the guidebook itself. This is not going to be a very small thing, but you can be able to see and portray a lot of the messages that will come through if this is an oracle you decide to pick up yourself. This particular oracle deck will have 33 cards with a 330 GSM to go along with it, and the deck box itself, from the way that it looks at it, is going to be a sturdy top bottom lid box with an exterior and interior art on it. Okay, with this particular Kickstarter, you can also get the altar cloth, and as you can see, it will match really, really well with the deck box itself, as well as with the individual cards that you decide to draw to it if you just kind of want to have a more complete look into that collection. We also have different Slavic Oracle stickers that you can have in there if that's something that really catches your attention. One of the things to note here is that it will also have individual add-ons for different decks that this particular creator has already done, such as the Magic and Mediums and as well as the Golden Light Oracle. Each one will have their own respective themes and artwork to go along with it, but at least you can get a little bit of a preview within this Kickstarter itself. And you can see the amount of detail and love that this particular creator has gone into creating these beautiful decks and being able to look as nice as possible and be able to connect with as many people too. If we're looking at the different rewards, if you just want to get the deck itself, it's going to be $39 US for the 33 card deck. And it will also include with the guidebook as well. If you're looking for the set, so for example, you want the stickers, you want the oracle cloth and the deck itself, then you're looking at about a $57 pledge. And the estimated time for this to go out to you should be November of this year. This is what we have for Kickstarter this time around. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that I was very surprised that as I kept looking through these different decks and being able to really figure out which are the ones that are kind of catching my attention, the ones that ended up getting drawn to just kept having these themes of where you get this one deck, but then there also comes with all this other stuff. The one that really surprised me the most was the one that came in where you can pledge in for a video game to go with the tarot. Now the tarot deck will come out a lot sooner than the video game would, but I just found that really, really interesting how you can have such a unique combination and how somebody is trying to put something together that's more than just, hey, let me give you this really cool deck, but let me see how we can try to create this deck and give you something more to go along with it. And seeing that theme throughout all of these different decks, including the Oracle deck as well. So with this particular deck, you can actually see how everyone has put so much thought into it and are just trying to get tarot to come to life. And it just gets me really, really excited to see how other people are perceiving tarot in this particular way, that is not just this one way or one note of, I'm just using this to read the future and I'm just gonna have fun and ha ha ha, but rather is a lot more deeper, where you can create stories, create characters, have complex stories, be able to bring these things to life in one way or another, which is just so beautiful to see. So this is what I have for today on the Kickstarter Gems episode 2. If you're really enjoying this content, feel free to subscribe to my channel and also leave a like on this video if this is a kind of series you are really, really enjoying. Also, be sure to check out my other content, as I have been doing some beginner guides in case that you want to get into tarot but are not really sure how to start. Or if you're just kind of looking for your next deck, I have been doing some deck reviews in order for you to be able to figure out if maybe some of those decks are really starting to catch your attention. And I do a full flip through so that you are able to see each card individually and how the artists have been putting a lot of thought and a lot of work into what they're putting out for you. So without further ado, this is all I have, and enjoy your day. Bye.